Auntie Esther, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you very much for being our first ever guest on Black Squirrels TV. And we are very grateful for your company this afternoon. And I just want to introduce you to our viewers and conduct a lovely interview. So if you're ready, I think we can begin.
Yes.
Please, you have led a very interesting life. I understand you have recently turned 85 years of age. If you don't mind me telling our viewers.
No, not at all.
And I must say that you are looking remarkably fresh-faced and young. I have had to verify your passport because I didn't believe your age. But it's true, folks. This lady is 85 years young. So big round of applause for that. So can you just tell us when and where you were born?
I was born on the 3rd of March 1936
Wow.
in the Congo, Kinshasa.
Are you a Ghanaian yourself?
Both my parents were Ghanaians.
Oh, I see. So how were you born in Kinshasa, Congo?
My father was transferred to Congo. They had me there.
Oh, I see. He was working there.
Yes.
But your parents were both Ghanaians?
Both my parents were Ghanaians, but then my father worked for UAC, United African Companies, and then he was transferred to Congo.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your childhood. Were you from a big family?
There were only 8 of us.
Wow.
5 girls and 3 boys.
I see, 5 girls and 3 boys. And were you the youngest or the eldest?
No, I'm last but 2.
Last but 2, I see. Okay, so I suppose you had the benefit of a lot of elder siblings who maybe helped you out.
Oh, yes.
Auntie Esther, you recently turned 85 years. How long have you actually been in the United Kingdom?
I've been here since 1959. I arrived here on the 12th of January 1959.
My goodness. So if my maths is also correct again, that means you have been in the United Kingdom for a total of over 62 whole years. That's a very long time. And you are a piece of walking history, which we, the youngsters, need to appreciate and really take note of what you're saying.
Auntie Esther, you have been in the United Kingdom for over 62 years. So you must have a lot of information that we can get from you. Can I ask you, why was it that you decided to come to the United Kingdom in the first place?
When I left school, I trained as a school teacher and worked for a while, but I wasn't happy as a teacher. I wanted to do midwifery, deliver babies. So I decided that I was going to go into the hospital work at Kolebu. But my mother was not very happy because she thought I was too fussy. I won't be able to stand blood and things at the hospital. So she persuaded me not to do nursing.
Oh, I see.
But while I was waiting to see what exactly I can do to get into hospital work, a friend told me that there were some English ladies in Accra interviewing people who want to come here to train or to do courses and that. So I asked her where to go. She told me I can go to the scholarship secretariat and make inquiries.
So you actually came here to study nursing?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Interesting. So you arrived in January of 1959.
Yes.
And I'm sure that by that time it would have been cold and wintry and rainy. And you had just come from sunny Africa. So how did you initially cope with the weather, the food, the people and stuff like that? How did you settle in?
Well, when I got here, truly it was very cold. The first thing that shocked me was people walking about, smoke coming from their mouths. For goodness me, what is this? I didn't realize that the cold weather makes smoke come from your mouth.
So they were breathing the condensation and you thought they were smoking?
Yes.
Interesting.
This was cold and gloomy. Everything was smoky, looking dirty. So that it is really London.
So you were disappointed to come here and see the place was dark and
Yes.
grey and smoky and compared to sunny Ghana you had just left. Okay, so when you first came, did you have a social circle or people here to help you get along?
Yes, I had two people here who knew I was coming. So they came to the Euston train station to meet me. But at the same time, I think the lady also liaised with British Council. So members from British Council were also at the port to meet me and take me to the hospital. So when the two people I knew told them that they were there to meet me, they gave me pamphlets about how to live in London and the rest of it, and just said goodbye and went.
Oh, so you went with your friends from the station instead of the British Council?
Yes.
Okay, they had a place for you to stay and everything.
Yes.
Like that. Oh, I see. And how did you get on with the language and the food and just the general atmosphere of the place?
Well, it wasn't that strange because I could understand what people are saying. But then when the English people spoke, it was strange because they were calling things with different names to what we call them at home. So that really confused me a bit.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Interesting. And the British people, how did they react to seeing Africans amongst them and stuff like that? Were they friendly or were they a bit... We hear many stories of no dogs, no blacks, no Irish in those days. So were they friendly to you or were they slightly off-putting to you?
They didn't appear any different. They treated me just as one of them. I didn't notice any, but it was later on when I left and went to live in the nurse's home. I tried to find an accommodation, then I experienced this
racism.
Yes.
Oh, I see. And it must have been difficult those days, and the Ghanaian community would have not been that large. So I hear that you met your future husband amongst your social circle at that time.
He was living in the house with my friends. So he came to the airport, to the station. So we all went home together. As time went on, then we got to know each other and we became friends.
Oh, right. That's excellent. And I suspect a relationship developed and eventually you got married.
Yes.
And a little bird tells me that there is a story of something like you went to your wedding in an ambulance or something. Could you tell our viewers the funny story concerning that?
Well, when we were going to get married, and a friend of ours who was going to be one of the best men came to meet us with an ambulance. So, instead of us going to rent a car and follow them, it's another expense. Money was a bit tight at the time, so we decided to jump in an ambulance and go. So we went with him in the ambulance.
So was it in actual fact a functioning medical ambulance or?
No, it was a medical ambulance, but a discarded one. So this man bought it and repainted it yellow so he can use to collect his parishioners to church and take them back home.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
So that must have been a funny sight in those days. A bride coming down from an ambulance.
Yes.
And I hear you were dressed in your Kente Cloth and
Yes.
you are keeping it cultural.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Fabulous. I came here to be a nurse. And from my research into you, you rose through the ranks of the nursing profession and became quite a senior nurse in the end, and held a lot of responsibility in many different hospitals. So I would just like our viewers to know a little bit about what type of specialized medicine did you do and where did you reach in your career?
Well, I came here mainly to do nursing and midwifery, so I can go back and open my own nursing home in Ghana and deliver babies. But as they were, I couldn't go back. So I stayed on and worked in hospitals. Before I took any post, I decided to work in different hospitals for varied experience. So I took agency work rather than to work in one place.
Which are some of the hospitals that you worked in?
I've worked at King's College, I worked at St. George's Hospital, I worked at many different St. Helier in Calshoughton.
And they tell me that you ended up in Mayday Hospital.
Yes.
Oh, I see. And the nursing sister, what does that entail? That, as I understood, you were mostly in charge of the wards and most of the hospital, and you had a lot of responsibility for a lot of very ill people.
Yes. Either you are in a midwifery, you can work in an intensive care, or you can work in coronary care unit.
And it's funny you mentioned the ICU. From my research, it shows that you have a lot of experience working in ICUs all over London. And it is pretty current with the current climate of COVID-19 and many unfortunate people being admitted to the ICU. I would like you to tell our viewers a little bit about the work in the ICU. Can you give our viewers an idea of how difficult that might be?
ICU has always been busy because the people you are looking after, majority of whom are unconscious or they have been made unconscious with drugs so that they can be intubated and attached to a ventilator. So ICU's always been busy because when they are sedated like that, you need to look after them properly. You have to change them every 2 hours or every hour. You have to change their position so they don't get bed sore. You have to make sure their mouths are clean. You have to bath them
So I can imagine that it might be very difficult for one person to be looking after a number of patients.
Well, it depends. It depends. Sometimes there are no nurses. So you are given maybe 2 or 3 patients to look after at the same time. So you plan your work. Sometimes it's half-hourly observations. So you do half-hourly. You take their blood pressure, temperature, pulse, you check their fluid.
So we wanted to know that you rose through the ranks. You were a midwife, you worked in ICU, you eventually ended up being a senior sister nurse in charge of most of the hospital at night, and in a very senior and responsible position. So, when did you retire from nursing?
I retired in 1995.
Oh, I see. So you spent many years working in the National Health Service of the UK, the NHS.
Yes.
Okay, good. And thank you for your service. I'm sure there is a story going around that half the 60-year-olds in South London were born through your hands. So you welcomed a lot of babies into the world who are now grown men.
Yes, when I was doing midwifery, I don't know, I had so many deliveries in the night. So when I went to do my examination, the woman asked me how many nights did I spend in my bed.
Because I suppose every night there was an emergency, you had to run.
Yes.
In those days, they tell me you rode a bicycle.
Yes.
Wow.
You have to ride a bicycle. If you couldn't ride a bicycle, they won't take you. So before I went, even though I rode bicycle in Ghana, when I came here, I forgot how to ride a bike. So before I went to start midwifery, I bought a second-hand bike, which my husband used to hold for me to jump, and then held me until and left me to practice. So I got used to riding a bike.
So I think we can now come on to the subject of what kept you in England. It's interesting that you had plans to return to Ghana in the early days, but you found a man, you married, children came along, responsibilities came along, mortgage came along, and as the old adage goes, life got in the way and you ended up staying in England. Yeah. So I'd just like you to take our viewers through your family structure. How many children and family members do you now have?
Well, I have 4 children and 9 grandchildren.
Wow.
And 3 great-grandchildren.
It is interesting to note for our viewers that in the midst of this interview, you've taken phone calls to let you know that another one of your grandchildren has had a baby. Yes. This very day. So today you are welcoming your 3rd great-grandchild.
Yes.
And congratulations from all our viewers. Big hands, big hands.
Thank you.
And I hear it's a young man, a young boy.
Yes, a young boy.
Excellent. Do you get the chance to visit Ghana very much these days? Or have you been going frequently over the years?
Oh yeah, I've been going to Ghana once every year. I went once, but last year I didn't go. I'm contemplating going this year.
Oh, fantastic. And have you been able to maintain links with family members and so forth and friends?
Oh yes. I call them, they call me.
What do you think of the transformation of Ghana compared to the old days? How Ghana is nowadays?
Oh, Ghana is a different country altogether now. You should see the new buildings that people have put up the place. Really tarred streets and roads. Their roads are even better than here sometimes.
Fabulous. It's very good because, of course, you have a lot of history of Ghana in the 1930s, 40s and 50s, so it's a good comparison to make. So definitely there has been a transformation. It has come to my knowledge that you are an extensive traveler. You've been to many far-flung places around the world, including places like Antigua, Miami, Lebanon, Venice, San Marino, as well as all different provinces in the United Kingdom, Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, etc. Is traveling one of your main hobbies, and which is one of the most interesting places you've been to?
I would say Lebanon. Lebanon was very interesting.
Apparently, on the day you arrived, there was an assassination of the president.
Yes.
So the place was hot when you got there.
Yes.
Security was tight.
Very tight.
So were you at all disturbed, or everything went on smoothly?
Well, once we were going out and we were told that we shouldn't talk to anybody where we were going. And as we got halfway, one of my friends asked me to stand and let her take a photograph of me. And there were a few men sitting on the ground with camels in front of them, not knowing that they were watching what was going on. As soon as I turned my back to have my photograph taken, they came and grabbed me. I was screaming, crying and screaming about asking people if somebody will come and rescue me. Nobody turned around to look and see where I was going. They all went and left me. But all of a sudden, maybe he gave them something, so they released me and we went as usual.
Oh my goodness, that was quite a terrifying incident, but I'm glad you made it out of there. And you've been to Antigua, I understand.
Yes.
Very interesting. By all accounts, they have a lot of beaches there.
Yeah, Antigua is a very small country. You can really go around Antigua in a day. But it was a nice place to visit. They had nice shops with a lot of gifts and things.
Interesting. So do you intend to do more traveling in your retiring years?
Well, at the moment, I am not really capable of managing myself too much. So I don't think I will be able to go unless I have somebody who is free to come with me.
Okay. Well, we can find someone for you, so definitely you'll do more traveling. Your family members have also told me that you are a part-time comic and that you have many different jokes, but most of them are rude. So, for the benefit of our viewers, I was wondering, do you have a child-friendly joke that you can share with us?
A joke about a dentist. A gentleman had just been to a dentist when he went to a restaurant to have something to eat. When he got there, there was another man sitting on his own, so he took his food and went to join the man. They were going to start eating. The man was trying to chew. He couldn't chew properly because his dentures had been taken away for repairs. So the other man asked him what was the matter with him. He said, "Oh, he's just giving his dentures away to be repaired, so he couldn't chew the food." He said, "Oh, don't worry." He put his hand in his pocket and pulled out a few dentures and put them on the table and asked him to try them on. The first one he took wasn't the right one. The second one fitted perfectly. So they ate their food, and when they finished, through conversation, he asked the other man, "Oh, where is your dentistry? I would like to come and visit you. These dentures you gave me fitted perfectly." He said, "Oh, but I'm not a dentist." So he said to him, "Oh, what are you?" He said, "Well, I'm undertaker."
Oh my God. So he has been eating with a dead man's teeth.
Yes.
They were right about you. Thank you so much, Auntie Esther. It has been a wonderful interview. Thank you for being our very first candidate, and you have set the bar very high for others to follow. From Black Sporans TV, we would like to offer you some token gifts of our appreciation and happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming to be with us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you and goodbye.